Greetings and salutations, my fellow star travelers, and welcome to another episode of Who Am I? Who Am I? The show that dares to question who we are, where we've come from, where we're going, why we're here, how it works. Source energy itself. The show that dares to examine source energy from an analytical standpoint, if you will. I want us to talk about who we are and how it works. It's early days in this process. If my delivery is a little rough, please excuse me. I'm learning. Every day I practice. And I decided somehow to go public before I was polished. I decided to let the universe of man, which turns out to be the internet, listen to my development, to my R&D, instead of, coming out, ta-da, polished. I'm letting you come into the space with me and listen to me practice this presentation. It's an exploration of basically who we are as source energy. What is source energy? What is it? How does it work? What does my understanding of it, how does that help my life? As an individual? Certainly, how does it help as an individual? And then, how does this better understanding help us get to a better place collectively? That's basically the point of where I'm going with this. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I'm not polished, so please forgive me. I also am I'm going to get farther and farther away from my specific individual self as I do this. At first it sounds clumsy and I'm stumbling around because I'm still closer to my individual perspective. I haven't let it go completely and then just let my bigger perspective use what my I don't know how to I need to label these terms. So let's go into a discussion about who we are. These two selves that I'm talking about, the one that wants to talk using the information that the other one has gathered, but wanting to leave the smaller one kind of behind, so that we're having a bigger discussion in a bigger place without resistance. I'm not pushing against anything, and I don't want to encourage anyone to push against me or this, because that's not the point. We need to talk about who we are, because our not knowing who we are is what's causing all of the problems that we could identify as big problems on planet Earth. I believe that every single one of our issues can be solved through a better understanding of who we are. That's my thesis, and that's what I am dedicating this program to forevermore. This is my intention unto the world, to raise our consciousness about who and what we are, so that we can function in our universe more efficiently, more successfully, more harmoniously, more effectively, more happily, more joyfully, with more freedom and awareness of, you get the idea. That's what this is in service of. It's all that it is in service of. And I want anyone listening to know that this is a disclaimer on my part. I am not, from my position, advocating to any individual any specific action. other than a general admonition to get into alignment. And then, we have to get into alignment with um, our actual nature. We have a configuration, we have a design. There's a way that you can conceptualize the how we are configured, so that then you can understand how it plays out, how it goes down, how it shakes out. It will help us understand what we see, the chaos that we see as we gaze around us. Perhaps we're looking at chaos. There is chaos to see. I'm not usually gazing at chaos, but I can see it. It comes into my peripheral vision, and there have been times in my life where I have done a great deal of studying of the chaos. I realize that there is suffering out there, and I don't take it as, well, there's just always got to be the dark, so that we can appreciate the light. No, well, that's true. That's true from an existential standpoint, but we can make it better on planet Earth. We could solve some of our problems. We could understand ourselves better. And it is to that end, to that service, that I dedicate this show today and forevermore. That's the only reason I'm ever in here. And I'm not on one side against another. As a matter of fact, I'm against no one. I have come to the position where I don't push back against. I realize that there is no enemy. There's no enemy on the ground. Not a single one in form. Not one in human form, not one in some other form. There is no enemy. What the problem is polarity. And our problems with polarity comes from us not understanding the system that we're embedded in. We're not understanding our own specific and individual equipment, that we are that we're using. The equipment that I mean is the human being vehicle, the mechanism through which we are experiencing our human lives, that we are this, collective. We are a collective. We are a single morphogenetic field upon the planet. But if we want to talk about fields, we need to talk about source. And source energy is the quantum field. And what is the quantum field? It's the pixelated universe. A quanta is a pixel of space-time. And the whole field is this solid plonk, very, very dense, extremely dense pack. As a matter of fact, this is... So I don't know which way to go. There's two prongs to this thesis. One has to do with a better understanding of source energy and how the system works will give us as individuals much better lives, more peaceful lives, more, like I said, harmonious, happy, joyful, free, the kind of lives that we want. A better understanding of source energy will take us closer to, our dreams coming true, and our, let's see, our happily ever after, our heaven on earth, that sort of thing, that direction, moving that direction. Our better understanding of who we are gets us more of that from a spiritual level. And from an individual point of view, it allows you to understand your own guidance system. You were born with a vibrational guidance system. You are plugged in to the rest of the universe, and you have operating equipment that perfectly syncs you up with the rest of the field, if you'd listen to its guidance, and tells you which direction to act in order that you should move in the direction of what your dearest hopes and dreams are. Isn't that amazing? We have a GPS, we have a guidance system, a vibrational guidance system within us that works that well. But most of us we don't know how our systems work. We don't know who we are. We don't know what our emotions mean. We don't know that good means good. When it feels good emotionally, I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, gluttonous physical sensations. I'm talking about emotions, your emotions. What are your emotions? Your happiness, your sadness, your anger, your fear, that kind of thing. I'm not talking about ooh, that feels warm. I'm not talking about that kind of feeling. Although that is another we have basically at least 6 distinct categories of physical vibrational sensation, or sensation as in the first 5 senses seem to operate on it's reflecting back to you. It's like it's a sensation to you as you feel the universe. Your emotion is sort of like it is you sensing the greater field. It's your connection to your inner being, and whether you're resonating with it or not. Let's just call it that. This inner being is your vibrational cosmic, it's part of your anatomy, you could say. But it's much bigger than your ego mind can think. So when you think of it as you, it's still a bigger you than you are. It's the you that goes past your skin, that goes from your skin all the way to the edge of the multiverse. That's your inner being. As we go further into this discussion, as we keep talking about source energy, how it works. Now, I'm talking on very general levels, by the way. I am a general, it turns out. I am, and I define that as I realize here, I'm not going to say at the end of my life, because I expect to have another 40 years. But I've been at this a while. And it seems to me that what I've been doing my whole life, as I look back and can observe, isn't that interesting what I've done? I tend to be a general. I look at things generally, and my specialization is to fit all things together. They all have to add up. Everything has to add up, at least generally. Everything fits in the same universe. It's all one phenomenon. It's not that this has to add into the whole. Everything has to add up. And so my specialization is I tend to look at things generally. And so forgive me if I seem presumptuous. But I'm done apologizing. Let's get back to it. Who am I? So you're a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. Start with that. That's why you have a cosmic vibrational anatomy, by the way, because you do live in a vibrational universe, and you have an aspect of yourself that is both in touch with all things and reading the data and information of all things. It knows where everything is and how everything is moving and how it has been moving since the moment that you identified a desire and attached it to a thing, and that thing is now, excuse me for a second, I'm making a little bit of noise as I put on a jacket because it's a little chilly in here. Who am I? Who am I as source energy? What is source energy? Maybe we start there, because like I said, there's 2 prongs to this. One is an individual understanding that helps my life unfold better, gives me better relationships with the loved ones around me, helps me to set better boundaries against chaotic energies within this world, because there are storms of chaos, little vortices swirling all over the place. The littler ones, they swirl and peter out. The bigger ones start resonating with each other and joining up with one another. And that's why the angry groups, the aggrieved and belligerent groups out there are getting bigger and louder, because There is a field phenomenon that is starting to unfold. Our understanding of this field phenomenon is extremely important as we, especially here in the United States, as we start, we haven't been directly dealing with this political phenomenon as intimately as some other countries have back through history, but now this is the United States' time to deal with the phenomenon of authoritarian psychosis. It's what's happening right now. It's the Trump phenomenon. It really is not, it doesn't matter what the truth is, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous Trump is, and it doesn't matter how wrong anything is, because what's happening is the energy of aggrievement, that sort of belligerent, put upon, angry, frustrated energy is rising in the field. And the reason that it is that our systems that we have created to produce food and distribute goods and services amongst human beings, the currency that runs that, and how you get your ticket in and who's allowed, it's insufficient. It's not. It's also does not take into account how the energies actually work, who we really are. We're trying to punish each other into better behavior when we need to inspire and soothe one another into higher frequencies and better states of being, so that we can take better impulses from those higher states of being. We don't need to be punishing one another, getting vengeance upon one another, blaming one another. There is no us and them. It's only us. It is only us. It's all us, and we are a single morphogenetic field, and quite frankly, whether you like it or not, the truth of the matter is that your neighbor, literally and figuratively, just other human beings, your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. And the way that we get peace and the future that we want is we calm the inflammation in the system. We have to calm it down. We have to realize what we actually are and how this actually works. And I used to be a liberal Democrat, and I do not identify with a political affiliation other than in the past tense, because quite frankly, I realize now that there is no enemy. The enemy is the polarity itself in the field. And we need to understand that. We need to really understand how this works, or we're just going to keep creating the suffering and conditions that we have been creating. We also need to understand how focus and attention works, and what you focus on, and it's the spirit of what you're focusing on is the most important thing. What aspect of what you're focusing on? Are you focusing on it and casting a negative emotion as you gaze, and then acting from there? Well, if you're doing that, then you are moving counter to the guidance of your inner being. The very fact that you are in a state of negative emotion is more an indictment upon the position, the angle at which you're looking at it, than the condition that you are looking at. Although it's likely that the condition that you're looking at that is making you so unhappy is likely to be something else that's out of alignment. Well, you would have better inspiration about how to fix that out of alignment if you would follow the guidance of your inner being and pay attention to how you feel and work on helping your spirit to rise, so that then you can take your impulses to act from higher states of frequency. You don't want to be acting from those lower frequencies. When you're down in an emotional state of vengeance, you don't want to be acting. You don't want to be taking the impulses from that direction. It just doesn't ever end well, right? You don't want to be taking your actions from depression. So right now seems to be the right moment to show you the emotional guidance scale. A lot of people will know what this is. This is, just imagine this. Your emotions are corresponding with a frequency. And that frequency is a relative frequency because you are actually emitting two frequencies. Your minds are emitting two frequencies. One is your source mind, one is your you mind, you know? Both of them are you, but let's just assume that your you I'm talking about with the small y, you know, your conventional you, your explorational you, your specific meat body based you in your physical brain skull you, born on a day, die on a day, have a name, have a job, you know, identity in form. That you is thinking thoughts. And your source mind is thinking thoughts at all times. And your source mind isn't wandering the same way that your individual mind can wander. Your source mind, you know, it's busy knowing all things. It knows where all of the atoms are. It knows how they're all moving, which directions they're moving, where they're located on the grid, what their temperature is, what their velocity is, all that kind of stuff, where your cells are, how your blood's moving, how the wind's blowing, how the, you know, that's what your source mind is, and busily, in a positive evolutionary way, attracting all good things in that direction. Now, it's not just statically recording all the stuff, because there is an impulse behind source. At the very basic level, all the way down to the nut, all the way down to its most basic thing, what's going on is spin. Everything is spinning. There is nothing out there that is not spinning. Absolutely nothing in form is not spinning. It's all spinning because form, the matter coming into form, the very mechanism of it has spin baked into the cake. It's baked into the cake. You can't have matter without spin. And then all of the forces that come from that, the Coriolis forces and gravity and electromagnetic this and that and the other and all that stuff, that comes from the fact that spin is fundamental. And so your life coming at you, in a way, is an expression of spin. It's coming at you. It's different things are spinning at different rates, depending on where they're located on the planet. You know, how there's so many factors that we live in just a magnificent, complex universe that if you would put your analytical mind to understanding it, I think that there's a lot of people out there who their analytical mind really wants some good, juicy meat to work on. But then they imagine that their ego minds, anyway, they're having problems with that. And so they spend all their time quieting their analytical mind. I think that this understanding can also help you to guide your analytical mind over into bigger understandings of who you are and how this is working, so that we can all get to a better place, a more peaceful world where all of us are taken care of. All of us have access to the goods and services created by the great human. Let's see, I need to brand this. I need I need to label what this collective human spirit is, that is producing food and goods and services and now has a rudimentary nervous system. That's the internet. It has a currency. It's plugged into energy sources. So collectively, how is this understanding going to help us? Well, spiritually, it'll help us get to peace on earth, goodwill towards man, and all that kind of stuff. But it's going to, on a practical level, solve one of our biggest collective problem has to do with how we extract our energy. We extract our energy right now on planet Earth using fossil fuels. It's fossil fuel based energy. I don't care if you're talking supposedly green energy like wind and solar, geothermal, all that kind of stuff, which has its place and certainly as a bridge is an improvement, but it's still echoing a misunderstanding of who and what we are and how the field works and what the possibilities are, what we actually could be doing with our energy. If you realized what source energy was, and actually I understand it from a layman's point of view, from a very, very general, and how it sort of fits into all the other topics and how it generally all adds up. I understand it from that level, but there are people who understand this and who have described it mathematically all completely already. And some very, very brilliant people have understood this all the way down to the mathematics of it. And the beauty of that is that becomes a roadmap for other young geniuses who have a desire to lead us out of the wilderness. I use that term a lot. Please forgive me if I use it 2 or 3 more times today. I like the way it sort of generalizes our woes. We do have woes. We are an amazing, amazing, amazing species. There's so many wonderful, wonderful things to look at. And there you can, if you would, from your position, if you can have faith and let your own heart be at rest and then act in your best impulses from a resting heart, you will be part of the of the good place we're trying to get to, you know, even if you don't understand the mathematics of this. But young people who are interested in this, go over to the International Space Federation or the, what's the other one? The Resonance Science Foundation. .com, .org, I'm not sure which ones these are. .org, I think. And check it out, because these people are working on technologies from a source understanding perspective, understanding that we live in a universe of black holes. And I and others have realized how pithy it is if you spell that WHOLES, because they are little integers, little fractal iterations of the wholeness, little reflective, little wholenesses of the data. Every proton in the universe, which is matter that has spun into being, is a little black hole, and it obeys all of the mathematical parameters of a black hole. It has Hawking radiation, just like any other black hole, although it's an extremely stable form. Doing the mathematics, it turns out that every proton is a little black hole spitting out Hawking radiation. However, the stability of the proton, it seems that every proton is so stable they will last for 10 to the 35 billion years. So that tight little teeny tiny, it's not spitting out much. And but the mathematics of it works out just along with, all of the Einstein and all of the people who did the math, the black hole math and the the black body radiation and all that stuff. It all adds up. Spin is fundamental. It's black holes all the way up and all the way down. Uh, the problem that we have on planet Earth right now, the physical problems that we are dealing with, all have to do the physical. Here. This is the place. Where is it? Problems that we have on planet Earth are all coming from us not knowing who we are and what source energy is. This right here, I usually do it at the end. I'm doing it right now. The 5 kleshas, this is from Buddhist philosophy, and you can see how this idea is relating to what I'm trying to say, that we need to know who we are. I think that so they're kind of saying that the physical self is an imaginary self. I don't really think that the physical self is an imaginary self. I think it's a secondary self. It's you are a binary system. You are an overview source mind and an individual self mind. And your emotions are... So, remember earlier I said you're emitting 2 frequencies. And because you're thinking thoughts and your source mind is thinking thoughts. And your source mind is all involved with the reality of the atoms and movement of all things around you. But it also has desire. It has an imp forward. It has a pulsing pull to the future. There's an action, a feeling of motion forward. It's that imp. That's where your inner being is located, but it is in touch with the whole universe, and it has its thoughts, and its thoughts are very positive, and they don't have anything to do with the kinds of fears and weird things that you do. Its point of attraction is powerful, and undeniable and unstoppable and connected to all things. It is evolving, it's expanding, it's moving forward. That's its thoughts. Your thoughts are whatever your thoughts are. And how those 2 thoughts are blending or not blending is what's creating your emotions. You may think that your emotions are being caused by that condition out there in the universe that you are looking at that you don't like. Whether it's global warming or whether it's, chaos in the streets, or whether it's children starving, or what. Actually, I have my little list of the main woes, physical woes that plague humanity, and that these will go away as soon as we more generally, more of us understand who and what we are and are acting out of it, are getting into alignment with our binary system, with our starting to pay attention to our overview, our inner being that is trying to tell us which way to go. Not specifically, you get to choose your path. What it's trying to do is it's trying to shine a light on a spirit. It's like any one of these 50 paths, all in this particular spirit of, well, we'll get to the spirit in a minute, because it's a frequency, it's a vibration, it feels like something. You need to be feeling your way forward. Feel it, feel that good feeling, that emotional, ooh, that feels good, those vibrations are good. Okay, from that place, now I will make my choices and pay attention to how I feel. And if that good vibration starts changing, then I need to adjust my thoughts, to be more one with what my greater self knows. That greater self, some people call it God, and then they throw it away from themselves. It's not attached to me. It's that God thing trying to make me be good, or judging me for being bad or whatever. But that's not what it is. It's an aspect of you that is connected to the whole universe, that's trying to speak to you, trying to give you clarity and direction, trying to help you find your path. What's your path? Your path of freedom and joy and love and kindness and connection and satisfying experience and joyful play and beauty and all of that, satisfaction. It's a spirit it's leading you to, because your path, you could choose 100 choices all the time that would be good, as long as you're following a particular vibrational spirit, because that's your inner being either resonating with your thoughts and agreeing with you close enough. I mean, it's thinking about things so much bigger. It's got a bead on the weather patterns on the other side of the planet, for crying out loud. So it is thinking bigger thoughts than you are. But all of its thoughts have to do with the harmony and the actual shape of who we are and where we are and what's actually happening. And it knows. You banging around in your physical life are likely to have been taught a lot of superstitious nonsense, and then you're likely also traumatized, either individually or you are carrying the collective trauma that we're all carrying, the generational trauma that we're all carrying, even if you were raised kindly. And I was raised pretty kindly, but I was raised by people who themselves were traumatized by the Great Depression and freaking World War II. In a big way. My father was 17 years old when he stormed the beach on Tarawa. Actually he came in on a little craft of some sort with a 50 caliber machine gun, because he couldn't wade in, because you can't carry a 50 caliber machine gun in, chin deep water and wade into shore. So, but he was 17 years old, for crying out loud. And then after the action, he spends 2 weeks burying thousands of bodies. He's 17 years old. He's still alive. He's 90. He's going to be 98 next week. He's still alive, and God bless him. He is just the dearest, sweetest, gentlest, positive man. He tries to look in a positive direction. He's never wallowed in the negative, and so I'm telling you, I was raised kindly by kind, loving people, but they themselves and their viewpoint of the world, what the meaning of the fact that that it makes sense that there ever would be an us and them, they were traumatized, and that trauma, it passes on to us. For me, it came in the form of not trusting the total group. I did not ever believe that us as a group were moving in the right direction, and I have never trusted us as groupthink. I don't think that even now we are where we come together collectively. I do not trust that place. I do not trust its wisdom. I do not think it is embedded in wisdom. And I don't think that it is embedded in an understanding of who we really are. How we come together as a government, how we come together as healthcare, how we come together as science, how we come together as the way we're doing things. I don't trust it, and I don't believe it. But you know what? I have now come to a place where I believe that that's actually a good thing. And I can see, because I'd never trusted it, I can see something else that I think is really going to help us all. I hope it is going to help us all. Understanding who we are. I can see a way out of the wilderness. We really are going to be okay. So what is my litany of the problems on planet Earth? 6, mass extinction. There have been 5 previous mass extinction events upon planet Earth that have happened for different reasons. Great big asteroids hitting the Earth, or volcanoes, or there have been different reasons why most of the life on planet Earth died off 5 times before. We are undergoing right now the 6th mass extinction event of biological diversity on planet Earth, and this one is being caused by the activities of human beings. Don't obfuscate it by quarreling about the terms, climate change or global warming or any of those kind of things, because actually there's life is more complex than we ever give it credit for, right? It always is. So there, right now on planet Earth, there is happening a cyclical, over, I think it's a 5,000 year cyclical, there's a cyclical event happening right now that is globally warming. It's a natural one. We're not causing that one. However, the activities of human beings on planet Earth is, on the one hand, destroying the biological diversity that could help us all get through such an event more peacefully, more easily, more smoothly. Our activities are exacerbating the global warming aspect, and then we're killing things. We're destroying the biological diversity. Our activities are. You don't have to quarrel about whether carbon dioxide is a poisonous gas or not. But you can understand that when you slash and burn the lungs of our planet, which is the rainforests, that you're going to be causing biological suffering upon the planet, even unto human beings, for sure. So what is the 6th mass extinction? I got lost on that one a little bit. Sorry about that. But growing deserts. The Sahara has been marching quite a bit over the last hundreds of years. It's caused primarily by human beings living on the edges of the Sahara in marginal conditions without access to any form of external energy source, not geothermal, not wind, solar, or fossil fuels. And they need fuel to cook their food, and so they collect whatever scrub that can grow, that can barely cling to life on the edges of the desert, and they burn it to cook their food, and it's making the deserts grow. We could bloom the deserts. We could. And I'm going to get to that before the end of this session. Garbage Island out in the Pacific Ocean. I have never actually studied that one. I've heard tell of this phenomenon. I don't want to see it. I don't want to look. That would actually disturb me. The reality of that one would probably disturb me. Garbage Island, don't like that one. Hole in the ozone, not a fan. War and holocausts, the kind of suffering that human beings perpetrate upon one another. Actually, that comes directly from us not knowing who we are, and squabbling over resources, which in this case is energy. And if we would understand what source energy is and how to turn our minds towards the task of plugging our technologies into source energy instead of burning fossil fuels, Vladimir Putin would not have any more power. And we would be able to, the forces of peace would be able to shut him down right away. He is not who we really are. He is not being who he really is. He is carrying out the Shiva energy in the field that we create when we create systems that are based on misunderstandings of who we are. They don't fulfill the needs of everyone, and anger and fear is created in the field. And it is angry, fearful people that pick up Shiva energy and knock down government systems. That's actually what was trying to happen January 6th, 3 years ago. There's a reason why that happened, and it's a collective field phenomenon, and you can't solve it by villainizing the individuals who perpetrated. You solve it by understanding the greater phenomenon at play here. So, let's see, have I done? Cruelty, the plight of Korean dogs, drowning polar bears, starving children, all that kind of stuff. So much of that will be solvable from a place of better understanding who and what we are, and how this system that we are embedded in, how it works, how it functions. So, let's see. So what is it that who are we? Who are we? Well, I'll tell you what. I want to get to a place where you can feel how cool we are. How cool we really are. You need to focus on who we really are and sort of ignore for just a minute what it appears like we are being. Because that's just coming from us not understanding who we are. So I have a couple of slides. I usually show these. This one right here. This is my representation of our two minds. You are these 2 points of attraction, if you're coming at it from a law of attraction understanding. These 2 separate points of attraction. One is your source energy point of attraction, and like I said, this one is connected to all things. It's connected to reality, what's actually going down, where all the atoms are located, how they're moving through time, where they've come from, the spin that everything is, what source actually is. It's coming from a great isness place. Very, very positive, very forward moving, very forward looking. This is your source mind. It is an aspect of you. You are source. You are source. And source comes into this. Well, we're going to talk about what source is later. Source is the quantum field, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But let me finish talking about this. That little mind on your right, that small aperture, imagine it as your individual specific self-mind peering into the in specificity to the actual space around you. You're like you have a greater self and then a smaller self, and the smaller self is feeding information up to the greater self, which is then feeding information back down to the smaller self. It's a symbiotic system you've got going on. Think of them as 2 spinning discs, or 2 spinning points of attraction, 2 spinning apertures of perception. One is a really, really big aperture of perception because it's looking at everything. And you are looking at specifically something. You're peering in as the specialist that you are. You're peering in, and the idea is both of those are you. It's not like and they kind of need to be looking in the same direction. The big one is shedding light on a large field of possibility. And if you look where your inner being is shining its light, you feel good, you can see clearly, things are going well. You're taking the guidance from your inner being. If you're over poking around in the dark, in places that your inner being has absolutely no interest in going, like for instance, maybe you are spending all of your time gazing backward in time, feeling regret about this action or that action. I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's where you're spending all your time focusing. I promise you, you're in the darkness. You're nowhere near where your inner being is shining its light. And so because of that, your emotions are negative and you're feeling really bad. Anytime you go into thought places where your inner being is not interested in going, my advice is don't you go there either. Go where your inner being is. Go where it is shining its light. Go where your emotions resonate with your broader perspective, where it feels good emotionally, where you're interested in things, where you're eager about stuff, where you feel the connection between you and the rest of the universe. Go there. Go there. Don't stare at so this is the kinds of thoughts. Human beings can take any thoughts. It's our blessing, it's our curse, it's our superpower, it's our Achilles heel, it's all of those things. This ability to go in the opposite direction of what's good for us. We can think in any direction. And the answer to all this is that we as individuals, you need to get better at minding your own internal guidance system. Know, first of all, that whatever you are living, whatever suffering that you are living, however horrible, you look around and you're like, oh my God, my life sucks. Whatever, no matter how bad it is, you got to know this. Life is good. Existence is good. It's a good thing that beingness is. There's a rightness about it all, and your particular suffering that you might be having at any given moment, it might be an indictment on the conditions that we've got going on the ground right now, which might be a result of long-term momentum built on misunderstandings of who and what we are, and so we've got this out of alignment system going on planet Earth right now. That's what it's an indictment on, not an indictment upon existence itself. It also might be an indictment upon the direction in which you are looking at it, because I promise you, the way you're looking at it is making all the difference. Right before COVID shut the world down, back in 2019, my daughter and I had started studying A Course in Miracles, which is a very interesting thing, a channeled work, and it's a system of 365 days of this study of how you are creating your own reality, how the way that you are looking at the world is something coming from you that is then creating everything that flows forth from that. All of your experience, everything is coming from the way you are looking at things, is basically what A Course in Miracles is trying to tell you. And then, so we even had a study group that we were meeting with every week at the local community center. Well, COVID came along and that ended. But just as it shut the world down, I discovered Abraham Hicks and the Law of Attraction, and that was very exciting. And I spent all of that year, 2020, basically listening to those videos. You used to be able to find full seminars, 9-10 hours of straight, just exactly how they played out. The hot seat game that she plays for 10 hours straight, and all these, some of them were good, some of the, now what's happened is all of those seminars have been broken up into 14-minute-ish, right in that neighborhood, 14-minute bites, and put out on the internet by the thousands. And I listen to those all the time. And in a way, that's kind of nice to have those targeted thoughts, each one of the segments is now better because it's got all the fluff and stuff edited out. But it used to be kind of nice listening to 10 hours of that. But anyway, I'm digressing badly. I'm so sorry. So you are these two minds, and both of these minds are vibrational. And the thoughts that you choose either resonate or do not resonate with what your source mind is thinking. If it doesn't resonate, then you're having a negative emotion. And so you should know right there that you need to pick a different thought, because I promise you, your source mind is not going to pick a different thought. It sees what really is. Now, what you might be doing, so there's a lot of typical things that human beings do that produce negative emotion. One of them that they might lose. So every one of us that comes into a physical body is going to die. We're all going out. We all came in, we're all going out. Our bodies are expirational. Our source mind is not expirational. But our bodies are expirational, and so we're going to die. And what exactly was I going to? Okay, so maybe a loved one of yours died or left, but died. Let's say they died. And you're sad. You're really, really sad because you were playing with them and you were having such a good time, and now they aren't there, and what are you going to do? Oh, man, it's terrible. Maybe it was a child. Oh, so bad. So bad. I know 3 people who have lost children. Grown children. They weren't baby children. They were grown children. Very sad. So now, if your focus, if the way you're looking at life and the situation is that you're focusing on where that person isn't. Oh, they used to be there and now they aren't there. And you're focusing on that empty chair, or that empty bed, or that empty whatever. You're missing an understanding of where they really are. Because I promise you they still exist. And they are still part of a field of information, and a field of vibrational frequency that you are connected to. They are connected to it, you are connected to it, and if you would allow it, you would still be connected to them. But you have to look where they are. You can't keep looking at where they aren't, where they used to be and aren't anymore. Now that's kind of tricky. I do understand that. We have been raised very physically focused, and so it doesn't mean anything to us to tune in. What do you mean, tune into their frequency? Well, that's how come I think this total discussion, this greater understanding, is going to help us in many, many different ways. Help us get out of all of our problems. We got to understand how these energies move, how they move. Now, you may look at us collectively in light of what I'm trying to tell you and say, oh my God, we've got such a long way to go. We're never going to get there. But we totally are. We totally are, and you may not even realize how far we have already come. Oh man, we're doing just fine. We're doing really well. We just need to keep going. We need to soothe ourselves into, higher and higher frequencies, and take the impulses that we get from the higher frequencies as opposed to acting upon the impulses that we feel from lower frequencies. That will help each and every one of us individually in our own lives, make our own individual lives better, and then collectively we will get to where we want to be. All is well. Don't worry about it. So what is it that human beings want? I can tell you what they want from a very general point of view. Because I'm a general, right? I see things generally. I see the spirit of things, and I see how things fit together vibrationally. It's sort of I can back out to the general enough so that I can, and there is a pitfall in that, actually, but we won't talk about that. So what is it that human beings want from a general point of view? Freedom. Each and every one of us wants to be free to call our own individual shots. each one of us wants freedom. Actually, we have freedom, but we're going to have to get into a discussion about that. What freedom do you actually have? And how do you exercise it? And from that point of view, how does that give you everything else that you want? Freedom, abundance, fun, relationship, play, satisfying work, comfort, beauty, efficiency, clarity. That's what human beings want. What they actually want is soaring feelings. Soaring emotions are so wonderful. If you can get to those places where your heart just opens up and your eyes pop and the world floods in on you and you feel you're so excited, you're elated, you're joyful, that feeling, that's what human beings want more than anything else. And then we turn around and translate that feeling into a lot of other things, and then we settle for a lot less than that, because we don't really understand what those feelings are, where they come from, how they relate to the physical world out there, how my being relates to the physical world. How can I get to those soaring feelings? Well, let's see if I can bring clarity to any of this. Who am I? So, I brushed on this. We're going to go back to it. How do I align those two minds? What does it mean to align those two minds? I can say all day long, get into alignment, get into alignment. But what am I actually saying? Because you actually only have two relationships unto this universe. You have two relationships. One between you and you. This relationship right here, as inadequately illustrated by this fuzzy picture that sort of gives you kind of an idea of what I'm saying. There's this relationship right here. And then there's the relationship between you and all the rest of the universe. So it's like between you and between you and the allness. And all of the other relationships are just expressions of those two relationships. Those are the two relationships you have, and those are the two relationships you should mind. It's actually really the only one you need to mind is this relationship, the one between you and you, because this is the relationship between you and the aspect of you that is in touch with all of the rest of the stuff that is trying to guide you, small you, specific you, to your delightful dance, to your best relationships, to your fun, to your success, to where what floats your boat. Specifically floats your boat, not what somebody else thinks you ought to like, but what you actually like. Because what your inner being is, what it's doing the whole time is every time you express preferences, every time you express a preference, your inner being records it in the quantum field. I'm not sure exactly how it does this, but it does this. It marks what you wanted. It marks the preference only. It doesn't mark the less good thing that you were looking at when you marked the preference. Ooh, my feet are cold. I'd like warm shoes. It marked the preference, not the suffering. Your inner being is vibrational. It's pure positive. The suffering was recorded. I mean, the universe knows where we are out of alignment and suffering about it. The universe knows everything. The universe knows who you are, where you are, what you want, where you're going, what direction you're going, what you're thinking. It knows everything. because that's the way source energy works. Source is recording it up and down the line in all kinds of, there's interesting ways that source is marking what happened. Nassim Haramein talks of a space memory network where recorded in space-time at the location where it happened. So the planet is flying past, whizzing past an area of space-time at the exact location where things happen in space-time as they fly by. The fabric of space-time is recording what has happened. I think of this as related to the concept of the Akashic record, which is the record of all human stuff. I don't know. Everything is being recorded. The interesting thing, though, Source isn't looking back at any of the past stuff that's been recorded, because all of the stuff as it happens, Source has the information of everything that happened right here and now, so it doesn't have to go back anywhere to get any of the information. So it's never looking back like you might be. You can look back and be regretful. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. That was so stupid. Now everybody's going to think what an idiot I am, or whatever. Those kinds of thoughts. Source energy is never doing that, because it has all of the past with it here, and it's always looking forward to the future. And if you aren't, then you're feeling various states of unrest. If all you're doing is looking backwards, feeling regret, staring at things that aren't there, wishing that there's no, then the frequencies that your thoughts are producing from this small mind, when blended with the bigger mind, are not blending at all, and you're feeling worse and worse and worse. That's the meaning of your negative emotion. The meaning of your negative emotion is not an existential indictment of existence itself. Never, ever, 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 ever. Life is always to the good. Always to the good. There is no such thing as hell, other than there are places that we can get to in consciousness when we don't know who we are, and we allow our thoughts to wander off into the darkness where your inner being is not. There is no source of darkness. There is no devil. There is no source of evil. However, when you go into places where your inner being does not go, the resultant actions coming out of you can be very, very wicked and dark indeed. And I say you, I mean all of us, any of us. Action out of alignment can be just as wicked as it comes. There is either an awareness of this source energy and this source of all goodness and all coherent order and all consciousness, universal consciousness, this universal energy that is running the whole thing. There is either awareness of that, or human thought can go into dark places where that bigger source mind is nowhere near. And when you go places where your inner being is not, that is the explanation of all the wickedness on the planet. That's all it is. It's out of alignment. It's not bad human beings. It's grievously misaligned human beings who do not know who they are in a collective field of beings who do not know who they are. That's all it is. And it can cause enormous suffering. I've already given you the list and litany of major physical problems being experienced on planet Earth right now. And I believe that every one of them is coming from us not knowing who we are. We are source energy. You are source energy. You are the quantum field. You are the eternal. You are the formless, giving rise to the form. You are not the form. When you identify with the form, that's what the meaning of this klesha is, the one that I had up for the longest time, and I finally moved it, and now I need to put it back up. Identifying with an imaginary self, that's actually just identifying with yourself of form. Because primarily you are not the form. You are the formless. You are the quantum field, which can be anything. It can form itself into anything. And that's what you are. So, when you identify with the formless, with the eternal, and it's, so what is that? That source mind that you are always that mind. You are a continuum of intention, a continuum of information, a continuum of marked preferences throughout the ages. And what is it that you prefer? You prefer peace to war. You prefer love to hate. You prefer alignment to misalignment. You prefer abundance to scarcity. You prefer kindness to cruelty. You have been saying this forever. It is time to listen to the call of your inner being and move into the frequencies, those states of being, those spirits that will get you to the physical manifestation that you crave. Us all getting along, us all having a unlimited, free, clean energy source that is not burning fossil fuels. We can do it through our understanding of source energy. So now I'm going to come to, I've talked enough about law of attraction and the inner being, and I didn't mention the steps of creation, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, source answer. Step 3, you have to get into a frequency of allowance in order to let the blessings that source has answered vibrationally with, you have to find that vibration. And then from that vibration, you get impulses to act. And those actions now will support the answer that you asked for in step 1. Step 4, you get really good at step 3. Step 5, you're back in step 1. You're not mad about it because you understand the whole system. There's value everywhere. When I got contrast that caused me to voice a preference unto the universe, then I can now make the universe better by getting into alignment with that preference that I just voiced. I will not do it by continuing to stare at the condition that caused me to voice the preference to begin with. I want kindness and I keep staring at your cruelty. You know, that won't get you there. You have to learn how to focus your attention, how to move your starship around. You have more power in this than you had any idea, because first of all, your starship is in motion. Whether you're sitting on the couch and never moving, it doesn't matter. Your starship is in motion. And you are emitting these frequencies to the universe, and the universe is responding to these frequencies. You are emitting a vibrational frequency that is, by the way, it's those two added together. And when they are not in alignment, then your machinery is not working very efficiently. It's like you're going instead of running smooth, just like when your car is out of alignment, right? Where is that? Oh, it's right here. This one. Got to get those two in alignment. So what is source energy? What is this Planck field? So look at the space around you. Just look around you and look at, imagine the space that you see between the stuff that you see. Do you see all of that? Well, what it all is Plancks. It's all these pixelated Plancks. And the space between the stuff that you see is the solid Plancks not spinning, but it's solid packed Plancks. There's no empty space. It's solid packed Plancks. And the stuff that you see is the Planck field in spin. So all of the stuff that you see is the Planck's spinning, and all of the space that you see is the Planck's not spinning. It's all Planck's. It's all pixelated. The universe is pixelated, and it's all pixelated with Planck's. And you are made of these Planck's. And what are they? They're frequencies. They're little eeny weeny, as small as you can imagine in this density space, frequencies. They're little, and they kind of, they become this little sphere, little teeny weeny sphere of roiling energy. It's just this sort of winkly twinkly frequency. So what's a Planck? It's a packet of light, which is a photon going the speed of light, crossing its own diameter. It's like a really, really, really small frequency. And in the space around you, well, let's see what I can do with this. You are made of Planck's, by the way, and everything around you is just this solid, pixelated field of Planck's that you are one with. You are one with we are one. We are one. We are one universe. We are one being. We are one morphogenetic field of humanity upon this planet. We are one morphogenetic field of biology upon this planet. The whole planetary system is a morphogenetic field. Our solar system is a morphogenetic field. Our galaxy, our universe. But we are one. We are one with it. You don't have to demand the oneness. You don't have to get out in the street and carry a sign and say, we are one. Let's do this together. Well, you don't have to push against anybody else to do that. You kind of have to realize within yourself that that's already happening. You are already one, which means you are one with your neighbor, which means your neighbor is your unknown self made visible, which means his misbehavior may have something to do with you. It absolutely has something to do with you. You might be innocent as a daisy over here building systems that serve a certain number of people, right? But somehow leaves out an enormous number of people. You may think that you're innocent in this, but you're not seeing yourself as the whole field. You're not realizing that you're leaving out certain beings in the picture is going to come back and bite you in the ass. And this is how it works. I've said this. When we build systems that are not sustainable and do not meet the needs of the whole field, or you're not responsible for the whole world, but it has to at least be in harmonic resonance with the source energy motions around you. When you build systems that aren't in resonance with source energy and are not sustainable, non-sustainable implies that it's not in harmonic resonance with source energy, because source energy is absolutely sustainable. If you plug into source, whatever you do, if you are truly plugged in a holistic way, all the way around, everything you do will sustain. And gently evolve to the better, to the better, to the better, to the better, because that's how it's designed. But when you grasp and cling at things and hold on to stuff and don't allow any change to happen, it's like JFK said. I think he's the one who said this. If I'm wrong about who said this, somebody can correct me, but I think he said it. When you make peaceful revolution impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable, because that change is happening. Evolution is a-coming. We are evolving. We are expanding. And when you grasp and cling to the material around you and don't let that spirit move forward, you create problems. So Let's see, where am I? Who am I? Who am I? Where am I? So I alluded to the mathematics being done, having been done on this subject. The latest paper was published back in September. The Origin of Mass and the Nature of Gravity. If you're some kind of a nerd, a math nerd, a physics nerd of any sort, please go check this out and understand that this is our future. This is where we need to plug into a different source of energy. That is what is creating all of the massive problems on planet Earth. The massive physical problems are all being caused by our plugging into the wrong sorts of energy. It's all implying that we don't understand the true source of all things. So, and that's probably how come we didn't transition there 100 years ago, because the consciousness wasn't there to support it. We just weren't close enough to understanding who and what we really were from a dispassionate, objective kind of standpoint. We were way too immersed in, way too vested within the field of physical reality at the time. I don't know. But there's been 100 years of us tapping into fossil fuels when we should have been tapping into other forms of energy. But the powers that be didn't want us to do that, because the powers that be owned the infrastructure of the current energy paradigm. And they didn't want to let it go then, and they don't want to let it go now. Because that fossil fuel, or that infrastructure that utilizes the energy form in place at the moment, is somebody's ticket to the fancy yachts and the jet-setting lifestyle and the mansions and the private islands and all that kind of stuff that all of us seem to want. You know, that kind of power and freedom to joyfully play. And there's nothing wrong with any of us, even the billionaires, wanting excessive abundance. It's other things that are the problem. I believe in unlimited abundance. I think this planet can rebloom to an amazing degree. I think that we were put here to garden this planet. We are the gardeners. But we've kind of got it wrong somehow. We got it skewed a bit. And we don't know who we are. And we don't know how it works. And so we've plugged into vile energy sources. And we're paying the piper right now. Really, really high prices. Vladimir Putin and his little war going on in Ukraine is a direct result of the way we are extracting energy from the wrong place, the way we are not understanding who we are. There is no us and them. There is no us and them. Get it through our heads. And so there's only us. There's only one of us here. And he has many, 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 many faces. 8 billion. Faces, actually more than that, because there's only one of us in the whole universe. There is only one of us. And so looking out through the eyes of all consciousness is the great one being. Now, having said that, I am also going to give a nod and acknowledgement to human exceptionalism, which is something that I resisted all my life. I go to church and they would always tell you that, you know, there was something really, really special about human beings. And all I could see was overpopulation and war and generational trauma and the rest of the world acting up. Now remember, I came from a kind, loving home. I wasn't beat. I was loved. I was role modeled pretty nicely. You know, people who are trying to do good in this world and get by and be kind and take care of their duty and such. I'm not going to complain about my upbringing, but I could see that the family of man had issues, and I still see it. I still see it. Those issues are playing out even as we speak, and I believe that they are all coming from us not knowing who we are. I was always fascinated with the Nazis and the Holocaust and stuff. At the time when I studied it, it seemed I could look at it because it seemed far enough away. Oh, it was Germans that did that. Americans would never do such a thing. Well, it's a spirit. It's an energy. It's an energy in the quantum field that has to do. It's an energy. It's a pattern. It's a phenomenon that occurs within the human morphogenetic field, and we need to understand it, or we're going to play it out again. We're lucky. Well, I don't know if we're lucky. We have been working very hard at avoiding World War III for the last 100 years. And I think what we've been doing is, you can see it. Do I want to say this? It's kind of a pet idea I have, because I see the relationship of focus and attention and positive and negative energies and the world wars. What the world wars were and why they were world wars, why the whole world got involved, is because of where we were in a state of communication amongst one another and an understanding of in our consciousness about stuff. So what happened was, we generally across the planet still believed in us and them. There's a lot of people who do not believe in us and them anymore. It's still a thought form in the field. There's still a lot of people that believe in us and them, but there's a lot of people who understand that there is no us and them now, way more than there was 100 years ago. So also our communications between ourselves was limited. And so it was easier to focus our collective attention in a particular direction. And then we didn't have much of an understanding of negative emotion. And what we ended up doing, basically what that world war was that we collectively all turned in the same direction, picked an us and them side, and focused negatively and then acted. We acted in our fear, we acted in our anger, we acted in our hatred. Well, since then, there's a lot of things that have happened. There has been a lot of things that happened in consciousness since the world wars happened. Television, cable, the internet, so our ability to scatter the focus of our attention has exploded. And so now there are almost as many different directions to look and focus attention as there are people. And it's harder to get all of us to look in the same direction and act on a negative impulse. We did that 100 years ago, but it's going to be way harder to do that now because diversity of attention has scattered. We're all looking in all kinds of different directions. For a minute there, like in the 1950s, this was after the wars, but it was still early days in our communication with ourselves. Back in the 1950s, Lucy told Ricky that she was pregnant, and 60 million Americans watched when she did that. It's hard to get 60 million eyes going any direction now, all at the same time, and certainly agreeing, having them all turn in the same direction and agree with an assessment of the situation, that's hard. Now, what's happening in the field right now, some people, you know, there's so much to get to and so little time. I'm already an hour and a half into this. I don't want to go longer than 2 hours. I haven't even begun to talk about this. I probably won't talk about the paper. Let me just, you can look and see where this came from. Maybe you can try to find it. I actually found the link. I think it's at the internationalspacefederation.org. I think that's where it is. Might have been at the Resonance Science Foundation. I don't know. But if you want to, you can find this. This is an illustration of showing how, as matter comes across the event horizon, as it comes into being, as a Planck oscillator comes into physicality, it's spins baked into the cake. I already said that, and there's better diagrams that I could show you, and I'm barely describing this at all. There's a 37-minute video on YouTube that I found. Somebody emailed me this, but I'm sure you could find it. It is a full mathematical technical explanation of this paper, 37 minutes long, and boy is it a mouthful. But it's the roadmap that we can use to understand source energy, so that we can plug our technologies into source energy and get out of the freaking dirty fossil fuel business. Because every one of our problems can be solved. Every one of the problems that I said, sixth mass extinction, growing deserts, garbage island. Garbage island can be recycled, but it takes energy to recycle garbage island, and if you're using dirty energy to do it, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. All of these would be 1 step forward, 2, 3 steps back. You can't do it. We could rebloom the desert, because we have the technology to desalinate seawater, but it takes energy. Even if you're using solar energy to do it, a great deal of fossil fuels is used in the making of solar energy. We need a better way. We need to be able to plug directly into the source of all things, because that's everywhere. That's everywhere. And I think of that as free, clean energy at the point of desire, POD, so that we can give some of those marginal people on the edges of things different ways to, well, we can also bring water to the desert and frickin' garden it, rebloom the desert. Garbage island, hole in the ozone, war. The only reason that war is a result of human beings squabbling over scarcity in a universe that could be belching out abundance. We could be belching out abundance. This planet is an abundance creation machine that we have been dismantling over the last whatever, but only because we don't know who we are. All of this, as soon as we get to a clearer understanding of who we are and how to plug our individual mechanisms into source energy, and then follow the impulses from those higher frequencies, each and every one of us would then be a cooperative component to the greater whole achieving its desire, which is abundance, clarity, freedom, relationship, synchronicity, beauty, efficiency, comfort, abundance, all of that. That's what we all want. We all want that, and all of the soaring feelings that come from all of that. We love abundance and clarity and beauty. We love it. All right, so that's what. So now we're going to talk for a minute about where we might have come from. This is a little slice of our specific mind, the little small aperture, this you and your physical body mind, you and your physical head mind. This is you. Lizard brain, mammalian brain, neocortex. This whole system is you. You still possess your lizard brain. You still possess all of your basic mammalian components that give you attachment to your child and all of the anxieties that might come from losing your child. Watch how a mama bear behaves when you threaten her child. All coming from basic hormonal. Well, it's hormonal cues, but it's coming from the basic design of the mammalian brain, causing mama to focus in particular ways. Because now she doesn't just lay her eggs and run. She's got to care about this being until it can take care of itself, right? So we still have all of that that's taking care of different functions in our life as we bang around our physical experience. But the neocortex, this makes us human. This is what's different than the mammals. And this is what I think that idea of human exceptionalism is coming from, that I used to object to so much because I could see where we were certainly not exceptional. Look at how incredibly destructive we are, how cruel and terrible the things that we create, the problems. I grew up before I was 10 years old, I read the book Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. So I had this deep sense of foreboding about the goings-on planet Earth. My father was a botanist and an ecologist, a forester, a range conservationist. He always had his eye on the problems of the ecology of the planet, and he was worried about overpopulation. It's how come I grew up thinking I would never have children. I didn't want to have children because I was afraid of overpopulating the planet, and I didn't want to be part of the problem, and I didn't want to blah, 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 blah. Well, I got into a place where I got kind of ambiguous about what I was thinking, and it turned out that my inner being led me to something that I actually did want, that I did not realize that I wanted, and that was children. And I love my children. I love them so much, and they have given me so much greater of an understanding of the situation that human beings find themselves in. I love them for the clarity they give me, for the love that they give me, I just love them for every reason, and there's every reason why I should have had them. My inner being led me to them. I didn't realize that I wanted them, but boy did I. So why am I talking about this mind system, this neocortex? Because 76% of this neocortex comes from a fusion of two chromosomes. It comes from human chromosome number 2, which is a fusion of two chromosomes. Human chromosome number 2 is an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion. This article right here, this is a peer-reviewed scientific article published by geneticists to this scientific journal, it's where all the different disciplines of science publish work to their peers, because you need to publish to your peers, because your peers are the only ones who are going to understand the very, very specific language that you're using as you publish to a peer-reviewed journal, right? So what these geneticists did is they examined the sequencing and configuration of human chromosome number 2 with its telomeres in the center that don't belong in the center, and the sequencing on both sides of the telomere in the center. And what they concluded is that, so I'm going to read to you the conclusion on this abstract. This is the full abstract from this article. We conclude that blah, 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 what we've been describing, is the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. That's a mouthful. That really is. What this is implying is that we are genetically modified beings. We, as human beings, are genetically modified organisms, which means that somebody did this to us some 200,000 years ago. This is when our scientists will tell you that we used to call this being Cro-Magnon man. You may remember that term, Cro-Magnon man. They don't use that term anymore. They call it anatomically modern humans. And we are in a array of all kinds of other species of hominids. You can go into the Natural History Museum and you can see the bones of all kinds of different hominids. And then there's human beings. And we've been looking for that missing link for these many years. What's that missing link? The one that shows us how we evolved from where we were to this neocortex being this big to being the human beings that we are. We're not going to find that missing link because that missing link was a genetic modification. It happened like that. Somebody took a naturally evolving hominid upon planet Earth and fused a couple of their chromosomes together, clipped away the redundancies on both sides of the fusion, which is another thing. So this is which is the one? This is the one. This is Gregg Braden's slide talking about this human chromosome number 2. We conclude that, so it's the second largest human chromosome, approximately 8% of the DNA in each cell. It's also 76% of the volume of the neocortex. Is that written on this other? No, I'm not sure where I got that. It was off of one of Greg's slides, but I don't have it on my thing. Sorry about that. But he says, modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. What he's saying is that there were redundancies. So they fused together these two chromosomes, telomere to telomere. In order to get them to stay stuck together, they clipped redundancies on both sides of the fusion to stabilize the fusion. That's what Gregg Braden is saying here. Modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. So the neocortex... Well, oh, sorry, I'm just flying around. We're genetically modified. We're genetically modified, and that explains why we have this ability to not plug into source. We have this ability to not harmonize with the field around us. And it's going to kill us if we don't fix that. If we don't figure out who we are and plug directly into source. We need to understand what this source is and how it is speaking to us. We need to line up with our inner being. Our inner being is our broader perspective. It is in touch with all things, and it is telling you which way you should go in order to make yourself as happy as you could possibly be, as satisfied as is humanly possible to be. Your inner being is trying to guide you that way. It's not upset at you for not going, but it always is broadcasting this frequency to you that if you would get onto this frequency and broadcast this frequency with your inner being, then the two of you would move directly towards everything that you want. If you refuse to listen to this signal and continue to act from a state of negative emotion, believing the condition outside of you rather than the vibration within you, you will continue to have a rough ride. It's just the way of it. It's not personal. Defy the laws of the universe and your ride will be rough and you will believe that the universe is impersonal and does not care and is so cruel. The universe is not impersonal. It is not cruel, and it absolutely does care. But it's up to you. You have to plug into the right. You have to line your two selves up. You have to know what your inner being knows. I mean, you have to align with what your inner being knows. What your inner being knows is love, is connection, is meaning, is goodness, is light energy. That's what your inner being knows to be true about the universe, knows to be true about you. So I'm coming up on 2 hours now. It happens every day. So I got one more general thing. I always add this. So if you listen to this every day, I'm sorry. If you've listened to me more than once, I'm sorry. These are cymatic patterns. And the reason I bring up the cymatics is because cymatics is sort of a study of how vibration relates to form. Remember, you are the formless coming into form. You, as the formless, can give rise to any form. You are the formless. You are not the form. You are the vibration creating the form. And then the form follows the vibration that precedes it, right? That's what's happening. So these are cymatic patterns created on a digital system of some sort. You pipe a frequency into the system, and all the different frequencies, you put in a different frequency and you get a different pattern. Every different frequency is going to create a different pattern. Every single one. This one right here, these are cymatic patterns. As a matter of fact, in the upper right and lower left, this is how cymatics was studied and discovered originally. A metal plate, granular medium. Pipe a vibration through the metal plate, and the granular medium sitting on top of that plate dances itself into a coherent pattern. Change the frequency, change the pattern. Increase the frequency, so raise that frequency, and the patterns get more and more complex. Now, in the upper left and lower right, those are also cymatic patterns, but those are appearing on natural biological beings, on points of nature. Those are turtle shells and some sort of aquatic creature. Looks like an aquatic creature to me. I don't know. Snowflakes, whatnot. The universe is vibrational, and it is coming into form on the heels of frequency. So frequency in the field, form follows. That's why it's so important to pay attention to how you feel, because your feelings, your emotions are telling you what the vibration of your thought is. It's telling you how what you are thinking is meshing or not meshing with what your universal mind is thinking. And my advice right here and now is it's really important to get into alignment with yourself. It's actually the most important thing, is to get into alignment with yourself. Quit trying to align with others. Align with your inner being who knows what's best for you. How can you tell when you're in alignment? You feel good. You feel good. Now, the other thing that's playing out is we are a single morphogenetic field amongst us, and so you might be being affected by other aspects of us in the field. Just know that. That's all. We are one. We are one. We are inescapably one. But you, as an individual, have all the power that you need to keep yourself safe and to lead the steps of your path to that which is pleasing to you specifically. How do you do that? Line up. Line up your inner being and your outer being. Do not cross your own energy stream. You are a smooth flowing stream going downstream. Well, I don't know if I want to mix my metaphors, and I'm not sure how. It is kind of literal, but it's sort of a metaphor too. The downstream, the flowing downstream. Your source self is flowing downstream, and if you, in your individual self, persist in resisting the world around you, battling your way upstream, fighting everything around you, just let go of the oars. Let go of the oars. Let yourself flow downstream. Everything that you want is easy. Everything you don't want is hard. The only hard part about this is the focus required to align your two selves up. Everything else is easy. Your life will flow easy to you. You shouldn't be fighting so hard. If you're fighting hard, that means your specific meat-based small side of you is calling too much of the shots. You are not allowing your knowingness to come through. Your inner being is not communicating with you properly. Your inner being knows where everything is and when and where it's coming around, because remember, everything's spinning, and everything's spinning at kind of a different rate. And so the rendezvous with the objects that you like and the people that you want to be with are all coming around in a particular way. Their spin is all organized within this one spin. And your inner being is at the center of all of the spins and knows where all the discs are, knows how it's all spinning, knows when that thing that you like is going to come back around. And when it comes back around, if you are listening to your inner being, you might have an impulse to turn and look that direction as that object that your inner being knows you like is coming around. I hope none of that made everything more confusing. I can talk about this more. I would love at some point to have ears in the room with me, listening to what I'm saying, understanding what I'm saying, and asking me questions about what I'm saying. I would love that. I would love that so much. Somehow the universe is going to help me make that happen. And I will follow those impulses when the time comes. I can go live with this, but I don't have anybody to listen to me yet, so I'm not there. I'm not there yet. So, what is my takeaway? What is the takeaway from this whole discussion? In general, we are in the hands of a greater organizational being. Some would call it God. I like to call it the allness, because there is an allness about this, that the universe is holographic. The universe is holographic, so there is an allness quality everywhere. At all points, all of the information of the whole thing exists. So that matters. The fact that it's holographic, mathematically holographic, and you can understand through the mathematics of Nassim Haramein's mathematical papers and all of the hard work that all of them have done over there. It's not just one guy over there writing delusional papers. It's a team of mathematicians and physicists with vision and imagination, as well as understanding the physics and mathematics of it all, who have been working on this. And it's not just one delusional guy, so don't tell me about that. The takeaway is we are all one. We are all in this together. Things are always working out for us. And even now, things are all working out for us. Don't be afraid. As a matter of fact, the last thing you want to be is in a state of negative emotion. Your inner being is only in positive emotion, so find your way to higher frequencies. Work your way up your emotional guidance scale. I got more representations of that. There's another one showing you the momentum building of negative emotion. To understand the law of attraction, you got to understand the rules of momentum and how law of attraction, as you focus and think, it starts handing you more and more and more, and momentum ensues, and it gets big. Negative momentums will just spin themselves out. They will play themselves out. There is no source of negative momentum. That's all us. That's all us and our thoughts, and then us joining together with others who are experiencing the same resonant frequencies. And then those storms of chaos, they play out. The eternal impetus of momentum is always positive. Things are always working out for us. So that's one takeaway. The other one is, in our collective vortex is the answer to all of mankind's problems. And if we would get into a state of faith and allowance, we would be able to, the answers, they're there. We need to plug into a different source of energy. We need to plug into source. And to do that, by implication, we have to understand source. And then when we do that, by implication, we understand ourselves, because we are also made of this source. Everything is made up of the Plancks, that is the source of all things. Actually, the source of all energy is all of those Plancks interacting with all of the other Plancks all across the universe. Everything interacting with everything all the time. That's source energy. It's this data and energy transfer across all the scales, circulating around the universe. It's the information flowing. It's the information of all of the universe flowing into and out of all the individual parts. It's like, so say I'm a proton somewhere in the field. What's happening as I jiggle in my quantum state, sort of winking in and out of reality, kind of. What's happening is that I am uploading my information unto the wholeness, and the wholeness is downloading its information to me every now. My speed, my temperature, my direction, my location on the grid, all of that, I'm reporting to the whole, and the whole is downloading to me through the Planck field. Our understanding of that is going to lead us out of every problem that we think we have. That is my thesis. Our understanding of source energy, and source energy can be understood. It's not beyond us to understand how this spinning vortex of creation is happening. And with that, I think I'm going to leave you, because we are just shy of 2 hours, and I do not want to go over the 2-hour mark. I hope you enjoyed today's little discussion. And if you're interested, I'm going to come back in this space tomorrow. I'm going to take another run at it. You might see it from a different angle, or you might be at a different angle. In any case, if you listen to this one, I hope you come back and listen to the next one. And you can probably go back and find the earlier ones and see how I've evolved to this. But in any case, it's been wonderful having you. And I hope that you come back tomorrow. And until then, as always, I bid you peace.